Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy! Boy, look what we have today. How are we going to hold this? Looks like it could be a problem. This fine piece of maple comes to us from Dave at Calmwood Creations. Dave has sent along many fine pieces of wood for us to turn. With this one, I think he's trying to challenge us a little bit, and I think he's going to be somewhat successful. But I think we're going to be successful too. I talked to Dave about this wood quite some time ago, and I've forgotten what was said exactly. Dave says this is burl-like. He says it's not a burl, but it looks like a burl. Dave, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'll talk to you before this video airs, I'm not sure. It certainly looks like a burl to me, but how are we going to hold it? What an odd shape, huh? Well, what I'm going to try and do, I've been studying this piece in my mind. I actually looked at it a couple days ago, and I've been thinking about it ever since. I'm going to mount it up like I normally do with a woodworm screw right up in this area somewhere in the middle-ish. We'll get it mounted up on the lathe and I'll be right back. So what I've done is mounted a faceplate ring on here. I was going to use a woodworm screw, but that wouldn't work. So I mounted a faceplate ring. I'll show you how that goes on the chuck. And I tried to center it on the point down below. I don't know if I accomplished that. I kind of tried to center it in the middle. That doesn't look too good from end to end. I just don't know if I've done a good thing here or not. And I don't know what I want to do with this. Well, I do have an idea in mind, but I don't know if it's going to work. That sure doesn't look right. Boy, let's get this mounted up and then see what it says to us. Right now it's confusing. So this is how these faceplate rings work. There's a dovetail groove inside the top of the faceplate ring, and you just place that over your jaws and then open the jaws up into that groove. So this much thicker end, of course, is way heavier than that end is. Also, you can see, especially when I put the tool rest up here, you can see that we're going to waste away a lot of wood. So the idea I did have in mind for this might not work. We might just end up with a nice live edge burl bowl, I'm not sure. Let me get probably 5/8 inch bowl gouge. I'll get my mask and face shield on. We'll see what kind of speed we can get out of this. Let's see. Well, I don't have any tailstock support yet. I'll figure it out. I'll get right back with you. About 560 RPM, best I can do. Now you can see how close it is to the tool rest over here, nearly touching, and over here it's 3.5 inches away. So all I'm going to be working for now is this side of this thing, and we'll just work our way up to something like that. It'll be okay. Let me get my mask and face shield on, 5/8 inch standard grind bowl gouge, and we'll get at it. Well, I don't know why I'm working so hard. I'll just saw that off. Sheesh. It's just so awkward working around that. I'm glad it's gone finally. I had an idea in mind for this. I don't know if it's still appropriate. This wing here is about 1/2 inch shorter than this wing. So I think I'm going to come out here and work in this way in an effort to keep the bark on and work this square point away. Well, I just was not happy with the hold I had on this piece. So I took the whole thing apart. I took the faceplate ring off. I drilled a hole for my woodworm screw, mounted it back up, and now you can see that I'm way off center. but that's okay. That is going to slow us down again to 560 RPM to start. And we're just working at getting this in balance and trying to determine what kind of shape we want for this. So I'll get my mask and face shield back on. I just sharpened up my 5/8 inch bowl gouge and we'll get back at it. I have to make a decision here. Either I'm gonna get rid of these wings and just make a nice bowl, trying to leave this natural edge right here, or I'm gonna have to make the bowl smaller to get up here higher. Although I can't go much higher. I mean, that's pretty thin right there. I have an idea, but it's too hard to put into words, so just watch and see what happens. Well, it's kind of working. See, I don't want to come out here and just round this off and make it look round. I'm trying to maintain the natural edge, so I have to come in from the side. Oh yeah, it's working better than I thought. Okay, that's not very good, tool work, but I'm going to go in here and make the bowl a little smaller, try and get up a little higher. I don't know if this even looks good at all. I'm sure it looks like crap from where you are, but being able to see the top here is an advantage for me. I don't have anything to compare it to, so I don't know if it's good or not. I've never seen anything like this. I'll mark out for my tenon. We'll go with that. Guess I need to do a little shear scraping up here to try and smooth out my cuts. I don't know. I'm sure it looks awful from your angle. And it kind of looks awful from my angle. Well, I truly do not have any idea what I've accomplished here, but I'm done accomplishing it on the outside, so that means time for sanding. It's the next day. Yesterday was my birthday, and I just didn't want to sand on my birthday. And speaking of birthdays, you know, seems like I just had one like a year ago. And here's another one. I'm just getting older. Oh well, I guess that's better than the alternative. Anyway, I was disappointed in this. That probably came across in my voice yesterday, I'm sure. And the reason I was disappointed, it isn't what I had in mind for this piece. And that just serves the lesson that I've learned many, many times. And that is, don't have anything in mind. Just let it develop. But for this one, I had something in mind, and this is not even close. But having slept on it, thought about it a little bit last night, I came out this morning and I'm just raring to go, and it looks a lot better to me now than it did then. And I think once it's all sanded up and finished and you see the top side, it's going to look fantastic. So that's what I think. I don't know what you think. I'm going to get my mask on and I'll show you how I'm going to sand this with my 2-inch disc sander, starting at 80 grit and working up through 400 grit. The lathe will be spinning in reverse at about 350 RPM. So that doesn't look like it's going to be too tough, so I'll probably be back in an hour or so to put some finish on here, and I think I know what I'm going to go with, but we'll wait and see until we're all done. But it's going to look great. Whatever finish we put on here, it's going to look great. This is a fine piece of wood. Well, that sanded up real nice. I'm applying Howard feed and wax on this because you can see why. It just brings out the grain so beautifully. And I think that burl, and I do think this is burl. Sorry, Dave, I just don't know what else it would be. Looks like every burl I've ever turned. But you correct me, buddy. Put it right down there in the comments. Anyway, I think burl has kind of a texture to it. It's got some places that no matter how much you sand, it doesn't go away. And I like to feel that. And you can feel it right through this finish. Plus, this is such a nice finish. It just feels good no matter what you put it on. It's mostly wax and lemon oil. I think there's 2 kinds of wax in here, maybe 3. And I could see where if you ever needed to touch it up, and I've never had to, but if you needed to, it would just touch up easily, you know, a year from now or 2 years from now. Now this is a sawn edge. I don't know, probably a chainsaw edge right here. And I sanded it lightly so that you can still see and feel the texture of the saw cuts on there as well, because that's just part of the history of the piece. At least that's how I look at it. And then I'll just let this set up for about 20 minutes, buff it up, and I'll bring you back when it's time to turn this around and start working on the inside, and I'm looking forward to that. So I'll see you back here in a few minutes. I promised a commenter, even though he said never mind, he didn't want me to get in trouble. I promised a commenter that I would show how I buff these. And the reason I don't usually show it is because I use a cloth. And a lot of people have been taught, and there's a lot of turners that teach, never bring a cloth to the lathe. And that's good advice if you're the kind of person that's going to come up to the lathe with a cloth like this and try buffing it while it's spinning. That's good advice. Don't bring a cloth to the lathe if that's what you're going to do. But if you're going to do this, fold it up small, nothing to catch. It's not going to catch. And if it does catch, it's just going to pull it out of my hand. It's not going to pull my hand off. And then just buff. There's no danger if you're, you know, reasonably cautious about how you do this. If you're not cautious, if you're just going to drape a rag over it and stick your finger in there, then by all means don't do it. And I'm not recommending you do this. I'm just showing that this is how I do it. So, you know, don't yell at me. I know you've been taught not to do it. I've been taught not to do it. I'm a big boy. I can do it if I want to. Lathe is spinning at about 700 RPM right now. If it was more in balance, I'd probably be doing this at about 1000 RPM. So that's all there is to it. Done. No side effects, you know. I still have all my fingers. And boy, does that feel good. Oh, and I have a correction. I said this was lemon oil. It's not. It's orange oil. Howard Feed and Wax contains beeswax, orange oil, and carnauba wax. So that's what it's made of. And it's good stuff. And I don't think you can disagree with me that this looks pretty nice. I sure like it. I hope you do. Okay, time to turn it around and hollow it out. And I have turned it around and mounted the tenon up in the chuck jaws. I kind of like this little pointy thing right here. So I might try and stay inside of that for a while. I might have to lose it. I don't know. There's another couple of little pointy things here and a couple more over here. But for now, I'm going to try and stay inside of this and just see how it looks. It might end up being too much bark. I'm going to sharpen up my 5/8 inch bowl gouge, get my mask and face shield on. We'll be turning at about 650 RPM. Need to see how close I am to that bottom. About 3/8. Go about another 1/8 of an inch or so. Leave a 1/4 inch bottom. I gotta get rid of that center. Yep, 1/4 inch. What do you think? I think it's cool looking. I'm going to put a fresh edge on my scraper and scrape. Yep, that's good. Time for sanding. I'm going to start the sanding with my Sandoflex. I'm going to sand all of the bark and this top edge right here. And then I'm going to switch to 80 grit 2-inch sanding disc to sand the inside. And I'll get my mask on, show you how that's going to work. Lathe is spinning about 350. Yep, that's going to do a real nice job. Then the 2-inch sanding disc. Lathe is spinning forward. And that doesn't look like it's going to be much of a problem. I'll bring you back here in just a little bit when it's time to put some feeding wax on. We have a shop visitor. A rare occurrence with this little guy. This is Curly. Say hi, Curly. Say hi, Curly. He doesn't like all the noises out here, so he very seldom comes out here. Look at the camera. Say hello, Curly. Hello, Curly. Yeah, that's right. See, he's getting anxious. He doesn't want to be in here. But I think there's mice. Why don't you go look for the mice? There you go. Well, the sanding is done and it's nice. I'll tell you what, it's just nice. So it's time to put the finish on. What a difference. Wow, look at that. Really brings out that grain. Everywhere else it's going to require a little brush. And I have a brush here with some feed and wax in the can. And I'm just going to apply that to all the bark and all the unturned areas. And that's going to take a little bit of time. I won't make you watch it all. But I'll tell you what, when it gets all over that bark, it's going to be such a nice contrast. That'll just give you a little hint. What do you think? That going to look nice? And when this dries, I said I wasn't going to make you watch it all, and here you've watched it all. When this dries, I'll take a toothbrush, a nice clean toothbrush, and buff all this out of here, out of the bark areas. Actually, first what I'll do is blow it out. 150 pounds of air pressure, blowing it all out of the bark and cracks and whatnot. And then I'll buff it up with a toothbrush, and it'll look great, and it'll feel even greater. Okay, that's what it looks like now. I will come back out and buff it tonight, but you're not going to see that. So, see you tomorrow. The time has come. Let's remove the tenon. I've mounted a block of wood up in my chuck jaws. I'm going to place the bowl over that and bring up my tailstock. I still have the center hole there for reference, so that'll help get it lined up real well. Still, I will jiggle it a little bit, make sure it feels like it's seated in there. A little more pressure. Bring up the tool rest. We'll spin it up and see if it feels like it's hitting my thumbnail here all the way around, and it is. We're going to be turning at about 600 RPM. I'm going to take this 3/8 inch standard grind bowl gouge and begin to removing the tenon. Now I'm going to slow the speed down to about 400 RPM, and I'm going to take a 3/8 inch swept back bowl gouge so I can get in there a little bit closer. And we're pretty small now, so I'm going to turn the speed down to about 200 RPM. And I'm going to apply the bevel of the gouge against the bottom of the bowl. Right hand on the gouge, left hand on the switch. And when the little nub stops turning, you'll know we're through. Like that. Then I'll just take it over here to the workbench, sand this up. Well, here it is, one maple burl winged bowl in the books. Is it odd looking? It was really odd looking to me on the lathe. Off the lathe, I pretty much love it. And you just know by looking at that raggedy, jaggedy edge right here, and that goes all the way around. You just know there's tons of little points under that bark. And speaking of bark, I love that. I think that's beautiful. And there's the bottom all finished up. Looks like that. I like it. I hope you guys like it. Thank you, Dave from Calmwood Creations, for sending this along for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I put out regular videos, about one a week, and I'd like to keep in touch. Your comments are always welcome, and I read all of them. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.